Well, Jeff, day 2 out there. What was practice like today?
It was good again. We're still able to get 4 teams going, which is different. We did it last year. I don't think we made it past the second day because we were getting thin again. But right now we're still rolling with 4 teams and with no pads on. Still stuff happens. Kids get sick, cramps, and growings. But we've been pretty healthy so far.
With Frank and your top 3 receivers coming back this year, how have you seen that connection kind of build? What benefit does that have?
There's very few balls on the ground when they go. They just know what they're going to do, and it's just they're fun to watch. They really are. I had to talk to those young receivers because I don't ever say anything to JT, Josh, Zakari. Like I don't even literally very rarely say a word to them. But I had to remind all those young kids that it used to not be that way. And I won't go into the details of what each one of those young men's weaknesses used to be. But we used to have our battles, and because I know my young guys hear me, coming on them hard, and that's just part of growing up. And those guys are great models and mentors for those young receivers. But those guys are going to graduate one day, and be gone. And when that happens, we got to have guys ready to step up and replace them.
Does that chemistry and experience with quarterback and receivers open anything up on the field, like identifying matchups on the fly or making checks or whatever it may be that help the offense?
It's not so much. It's not like that because there are plays where that's optional, but there's sometimes it's not. But Frank's just he's hand signaling and he can get in and out of stuff now. It's not Madden, but it's more Madden-like because of Frank's relationship with those kids. It's not just a free-for-all out there, but there are moments where a play has built in where he can get a hand signal to those guys and get it done.
What about the stress it puts on defenses to have 3 receivers with that level of talent? What kind of challenges does that present to teams up against you?
Well, I would imagine the first one is just we throw the ball down the field so much, and those guys have gotten really good at going to get it. So I would imagine defensively, we also let it run the football, and we're physical when we run it. So it puts those DCs, and but none of that matters if you don't have great players, and we've got really good players.
Given the strength of those 3 wideouts, do you prioritize formations that involve all 3? Do you think we could see a lot of that this year? You mentioned like the high school philosophy of playing the best 11.
Yeah, we were 11 personnel last year, probably 60% of the time. We were 12 personnel, probably the other 40%. So. Yeah, there's no doubt. If I only had 2 receivers and 2 really good tight ends, I'd be 12 personnel heavier. So, but we've got other good receivers too. It's not just those 3. We feel really good about Ty Key. We feel really good about Trey. Chris Carpenter's coming on, and so that makes it where you can be heavy 11 because you got backups in case somebody ever get injured as well.
You mentioned that 12 personnel. You've talked about that a couple times already. And finding the tight ends for that. How do you size up the tight end room at this point, behind Oscar especially?
Dan's got to keep coming on, right? And Gavin's returning as well. Can we keep Gavin healthy? Where's Cam Cooper going to fit? How soon? And where's Houston Thomas going to fit? How soon? And, we just got to Zakari. Where's he going to fit in there? And if they can't play, we won't be in 12 personnel. It's really that simple. We'll go 10 personnel. We'll go 4 wide receivers and just play that way. So, right, the best 11 are going to play.
With Oscar and Leroy, you had guys who were like basically extra tackles with their blocking ability. Do you have behind Oscar a second tight end who kind of projects to have that level of impact blocking?
I don't think we have the body type, honestly. So we would do some different things, to maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses.
Jeff, what do you guys got planned for the rest of this week? And I guess you go into pads next week. Is that the plan?
Yeah, we've got one more day of no pads, I believe. I'm the worst at that. I've planned it all right, and it's written down, but I don't. And then I think it goes shell maybe for a day or 2, and then maybe full pads, I believe. But I'm the worst. That literally, like that win the day, like that's me to the T. Like I'm just looking at my phone at what we got next. I think I've got 2:10 special teams meeting coming up, and 11:30 we're watching the offensive practice. That's what's next on my list.
You get some of your guys doing some community service this weekend and throughout this week. Just can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're just giving back and helping people, and trying to do good, and it's just easier for me when we're all in here together to monitor it and make sure they do it correctly, and it's one of those things you need to do when you get through doing it. You're glad you did it, and while you're doing it, you're usually not real happy, but you're glad you did it when you're done. Well, that's how it's been our experience, or my experience from my community service in my life. I'm just being honest. Y'all are probably lying.
What's the message you want them to take away from community service?
The biggest deal in this is, let's just be honest about football coaches, football players. There is a fan base out there that probably gives us way too much more than we deserve. And there's people that are resentful, that it's way too undeserved, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And we want those guys to always be appreciative and grateful and give back. And that's when I'm the happiest in my life, is when I'm serving people. And when I'm the most miserable is when I become extremely selfish, right? So I'm sure we've all gone through those struggles in life, and it just helps when we're here to mentor them or threaten them to serve.
I know Zakari in the last couple of years has had some kind of nagging injuries, especially last season. Where's his health at this point coming into fall camp?
He's pretty good. He was gimped up a lot in the summer, but just watch him walk. I mean, he's just so bow-legged, and he's just an interesting rascal. And if you were just to look at him, you'd probably pick him, probably not high on your list. And then you go out there and watch him play, you're like, the guy's really good. And I can remember when I first started here, he was injured with a back for like 6 to 8 weeks, I think. He didn't even play those first 3 or 4 games. I might be off slightly. But the previous guys on the staff, mainly Hunter Ritterman, I'd say he just doesn't look that good to me. Like in practice, he just, so in that game, whenever that first one back, I'm like, I just want to see how good this rascal is. Let's just throw one up to him. And he just went up and snagged it. And Hunter was like, I told you. And the kid's just really a good football player. And if he can stay healthy, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, to your point, it seems like there's games where he's like touch and go coming into the game, and then all of a sudden you get him out there and he just produces. And I was wondering if, maybe without some of that stress of an injury concern, if it might free him up even more, or if he could have an even bigger year.
Yeah, so far with him, there's just been that. So we had to be smart with him, how we handle him. That's always a situation where that's not the way, JT and Josh are. Those guys have been very fortunate and they just are always out there. But with Zakari, we got to monitor him a little bit.
Cool.
All right,
Jeff.
Jeff, thanks.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.